for us in Michigan. So as the Senator from Ohio indicated, the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative focuses on a number of things that deal with water quality and stopping the spread of Asian carp and other invasive species, restoring the shoreline, preventing future contaminations. And I have to say, as a personal point of pride, in 2010, I authored the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative as a member of the Senate Budget Committee. And since that time, we have funded 5,449 different projects throughout the entire region of the Great Lakes, including 880 projects in Michigan. And we are seeing tangible results. As Senator Portman has indicated, this is a partnership, public-private. It's with local communities. It's with state governments. It's the federal government. We, in Michigan, have had 4 areas of concern that had been labeled because of the seriousness of what was happening to the water and the water quality. They have now been removed from those areas of concern where the communities work together using Great Lakes restoration funding and working with the communities, and they've been delisted, which is a good thing. That means things have improved. You can fish again, you can swim again, you can enjoy the water again. And so we are seeing tremendous tangible results for what we have been able to do together. And it's also important to note that for every $1 we put into investments through this important program, it produces $3 in economic return. So it is fiscally responsible. It is responsible stewardship for all of us in protecting our fresh waters of our country. And what we are doing in this legislation basically would allow us to, over the next 5 years, raise the authorization level back up to where it started in 2010. It's been up and down and up and down and up and down. And this would allow us to be able, within the next 5 years, to get that authorization back up into where it was. And so we do have the support of the body, but as I would now move, Mr. President, that if in legislative session, I would ask unanimous consent that the Committee on EPW be discharged from further consideration of H.R. 4031 and the Senate proceed to its immediate consideration.
Clerk will report.
H.R. 4031, an act to amend the Federal Water Pollution Control Act to reauthorize the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative and for other purposes.
Without objection, the committee is discharged and the Senate will proceed to the measure.
Mr. President, I would ask unanimous consent that the bill be considered read a 3rd time and passed, and that the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Without objection.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And let me say again what a pleasure it is to work with my friend from Ohio. And I want to take one other moment just to also speak and thank everyone that is involved at this point in getting us to where we are on this very important survival package. I've never felt this was a COVID stimulus. It's about helping people survive over the next several months, whether that's making sure they've got a roof over their head and food on the table, can pay the bills, keep the heat on. In places like North Dakota and places like Ohio, it's going to get pretty cold this winter. And our small businesses, our farmers, our schools that need help to be able to proceed, all the support we need to provide for vaccine distribution and healthcare and all of the other areas. This has been a tough negotiation. I do want to say on a couple of points that where I've been deeply involved, and I want to thank the Presiding Officer, Mr. President, for your support and help on our nutrition and agriculture pieces. We have come together in a very important step that's going to allow more people to get help to feed their families over the next several months. No small thing. We have a hunger crisis in our country. We have people who have donated to the food bank, worked for the food bank, now sitting for hours in cars, waiting to drive up and get a box of food in the United States of America. And so what we are doing as part of this package is going to be significant to help people be able to purchase food in the grocery store, as well as get help in other ways, help our seniors with Meals on Wheels, help our children who aren't able to be eating in school right now, and our college students that don't have the opportunity to be on campus in getting support. So we have very significant food access and nutrition, very positive efforts in this legislation. And for our farmers as well across the country, significant support, as well as help in our food chain, supply chain areas where we have all been concerned as we've watched those involved in the bulk supply chain be able to lose their markets in restaurants and so on, but not have the support and the capacity to take that milk or take those other commodities and be able to move them over and package them differently for consumers to go to the food bank. We make some headway in supporting that as well in this legislation. So I want to thank my colleagues. This is really the last negotiation that Senator Roberts and I have led as he retires this year. And it's been, as I've said before, a great pleasure to work with him and to be able to achieve this bipartisan effort. The one other thank you I just want to give is in a whole nother area that has been a passion of mine. I've been proud to lead with a colleague from Missouri, Senator Roy Blunt. We have very significant support as well for behavioral health services, mental health, substance abuse services that are desperately needed and have been amplified, and the need has been expanded even more because of what has happened with the coronavirus. And so important support in this legislation as well, and grateful to be involved in pushing that forward as well. So more to talk about. I know we're a little ways away from that final vote, but I'm hopeful that the coalition that was formed, that all of us working together, that brought this together and negotiated, and my colleagues who initiated this bipartisan effort will find that this is a coalition we want to keep going for next year, because there's so much more that we need to do together. And the American people expect us to get things done. And this, I hope, is the first step of many to celebrate ways that we're solving problems and helping people and moving the country forward. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President.
Senator from Ohio.
First, I want to agree with my colleague from Michigan and thank her for her work with regard to behavioral health and working with us in the bipartisan group on both behavioral health and addiction, because unfortunately during this pandemic, the epidemic of drug addiction and drug overdoses and overdose deaths has increased dramatically. And it's a heartbreaking reality because we were making progress thanks to work here in this chamber and at the state and around the country. We were actually reducing not just the number of people addicted, but the number of people who were suffering from overdoses and overdose deaths. And unfortunately, this year, we're now going to see the largest overdose death rate in the history of our country, we believe. That is a sad reality, and we need to address it. And that's part of the COVID-19 package, along with the behavioral health issues that are also, unfortunately, being exacerbated by the isolation that comes with the COVID-19 issue and the helplessness probably and the joblessness that we're seeing. Mr. President, I'd like unanimous consent to offer into the record, at the place in the record where we talk about the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, one other point from Senator Stabenow and myself that we want to congratulate and thank our colleagues in the House for working with us on this Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, and in particular, the two co-chairs in the House of the Great Lakes Task Force and the two co-authors of the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative legislation. And that would be Representative Marcy Kaptur of Ohio, and Representative David Joyce from Ohio. So we'd like to thank them for their good work and congratulate them on tonight's passage as well.
Without objection,
Yield back. I note the absence of a quorum.
clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Alexander.
Breaking news here on HAPS television. Just right now, an agreement reached on the COVID-19 relief package. $900 billion. Those were, you saw, oops. You saw Senator, oops, oh gosh. Hello, everyone. Welcome to HAPS TV. Sorry for the delay. I've had some technical issues here, but everything's fine now. Everything is fine. Thank you so much for tuning into this broadcast. So an agreement was reached on the COVID-19 relief deal, on the COVID-19 economic aid, $600 direct stimulus check, direct check to qualifying Americans, $300 federal unemployment insurance bonus, $300 federal unemployment insurance bonus, excuse me. We're awaiting the actual bill itself and the votes, but again, Senator Mitch McConnell, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer both saying that an agreement was reached on this package. So now we're just waiting for the formal process of the votes and seeing this fully pass. Randall, so it's not formal yet. The deal is agreed to. It's been agreed to by both Democrats and Republicans, but the formal vote count, the formal voting process has not taken place in the Senate yet. Thanks everyone for tuning into this broadcast. I'm Cameron Sadeghi from HAPS Television. So yes, the vote, we're just awaiting for the vote itself, but the deal has been reached. So upwards to $900 billion for this package. You heard Debbie Stabenow from Michigan, the Democrat senator from Michigan, say this is not a stimulus package. This is a survival package. Those were her words just right now on the Senate floor. After days of back and forth and an almost shutdown that occurred on Friday night, government shutdown that ultimately did not happen, as there was as it was voted on to keep pursuing these discussions for COVID-19 relief. So now we're here. We just have to wait for the formal process. But if something, extreme happens, if some, unlikely event happens, then there will then it would not be passed, but it's most likely going to be passed formally. Yes, that is correct. $600 one-time payment to adults and dependents. Thank you for responding in that way, that quickly. I didn't get a chance. I didn't see the comment quickly enough. And thank you for doing that. Thanks. So yes, $600 one-time payment to qualified American adults and qualified individuals. Yes, and that's again the same thing from the NBC News report, which is the $300 federal unemployment bonus per week, $300 federal unemployment bonus. So that was what NBC News reported earlier today as well. So now we're just here waiting for the formal process to take place with votes and the president signing off and all of the formality that goes along with this. But the agreement itself is reached, and barring some extreme situation, we're going to see this package be passed. Yes, I'm. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, I have to. Sometimes the broadcast will restart because currently, due to the. How can I subscribe to? Oh, hold on one second. So I'll answer this question and then talk about why it's restarting. Okay, I'm subscribed to HAPS News. How can I subscribe to you directly, Cameron? Okay, so when you look at your screen, you're going to see my link right there. So it will be haps.tv /at Cameron Sadeghi. So you can go, you'll see the link. You'll see the link on the screen. It will pop up and flash on the screen every now and then. So just keep, if you look at the top of the screen. But the reason why that this broadcast, you may see it restart oftentimes, or it may cut off a little bit. I have to restart the graphics server every now and then to make sure that the microphone is working. So again, I apologize for those kind of brief in and out cuts that will probably happen the rest of the way of this broadcast, but it's only because I'm trying to restart the microphone. That's why. So that's the only reason. That's the main reason why I'm doing that, because I have to do that. Otherwise, the microphone will not work. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, to this broadcast. I really appreciate it. So again, $900 billion we're talking about here. It was $1.8 trillion for the CARES Act back in March. So now it's going to be $900 billion, the economic relief to the American people. Yes, Arnold. Like I said earlier, I'm going to have to at times restart the broadcast, restart the graphics server every now and then. So that's why it's like that. Just because I need to make sure the mic works, the microphone works. If you're just tuning into this broadcast, my name is Cameron Sadeghi from HAPS Television. You're tuning into live coverage of the Senate floor. United States Senate has now agreed with the Congress, essentially senators and House and members of the House have agreed on a $900 billion COVID-19 relief package. And now we're just awaiting the formal process of votes and the actual full text of the bill. What you see on the second half of your screen is Senator Chuck Schumer, the Democrat from New York, the minority leader of the Senate. He spoke earlier today along with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, and they both stated that there is an agreement now on this COVID-19 relief package. Thank you, Heather, for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I really do. So again, just to remind you, the formal process of how this works, it goes, remember, it started as, it goes through the House Rules Committee, then goes all the way through the House, then off to the Senate, then to the President's desk. And if you get all three steps in, you get the deal. It's just that simple. Simple and it's simple conceptually. It's definitely not easy to execute, as we have seen at times. You know, in the U.S., some people, when they criticize the United States government, they will say that it is at times too bureaucratic, that there are too many layers to the process. Others will argue that that's a good thing, that provides, you know, it provides a certain kind of uh, check and balance in a way. Like checks, you could argue that that the layers of bureaucracy may make it easier um, for everyone to have an equal say. So it depends on where you stand on that side of the spectrum. But basically, that's it. House first, Senate second, third, President's desk. And we'll see how quickly that process occurs. It's possible that it could happen on Monday morning or Monday afternoon, the formal process. But verbally, we have heard the agreement now uh, between Democrats and Republicans in Congress for COVID-19 aid. I am new here. Thank you for coming in. So basically, what you're tuning into right now is YouTube. You're probably here through my YouTube channel, as I can see the YouTube comment. I'm here broadcasting through HAPS Television, HAPS.tv, and right now I'm just rebroadcasting a simulcast broadcast of the Senate floor, of the United States Senate floor. They just reached an agreement on COVID-19 economic relief, COVID-19 relief for Americans here today on this Sunday session. It is the third Sunday session of the United States Senate for this year. Hello from Cleveland. Hello, how are you? We're still awaiting the fine detail, the exact details here for this bill. So this measure, according to NBC News, I just want to confirm that this package is basically going through the first quarter of 2021. I just want to make that clear. So this $900 billion COVID-19 relief package will be going through the first quarter of 2021. You also heard, and I just want to say this again. You hear, you see you see Senator Chuck Schumer there, and Democrats have been talking, and Chuck Schumer mentioned this, that they don't want to see this be the final relief. They believe that once President-elect Biden is in office, they want to push more relief. They want to push more relief spending. So that's interesting information for all of you. Thanks for tuning into this broadcast. Really appreciate all of you for tuning in. Again, you see Senator Josh Hawley, the Republican from Missouri. He pushed for $1,200 checks directly to Americans. He along with Senator Bernie Sanders, the independent from Vermont, they were trying to push for $1,200 checks directly into the hands of American adults, but that is not going to happen, as it appears here, that is not going to happen. Okay, so we're still waiting here. What a long day it has been here on HAPS and YouTube and all of it, rebroadcasting this from C-SPAN. I just want to say thank you if you were here from the very beginning. I really appreciate it. But yeah, this has been a really interesting day here. So let's also to just mention here um, that this relief, and this is from the USA Today, the USA Today reports that the relief is likely to be attached by this spending bill that would fund the federal government through September 30th. So here you have the relief package, but you also have the spending bill, that bipartisan spending bill that would fund the federal government through September 30th, the end of the fiscal year. That's from USA Today. Just reporting. I had missed that point. I'm just looking at different articles right now, making sure I get everything, all the points here covered. According to CNN it's Manu Raju and Claire Foron, excuse me. That also that there would be $330 billion for small business loans, more than $80 billion for schools, and billions for vaccine distributions. Roger, Roger, I'm speaking right now because I can't unmute it because C-SPAN doesn't allow me to really unmute unless we go full to the Senate floor. And right now there's kind of a pause in action, but once they go full screen to the Senate floor, I'll get you there. But so let me just wrap this up here. So according to Manu Raju, CNN, and Claire Foron, they just wrote this article right now, but to make sure I clear things here, they summarize it all. I just want to hit the points really quick. So again, $330 billion for small business loans, more than $80 billion for schools, and billions for vaccine distribution. And then this one question here. What about individual relief? Direct payments of $600 for individuals. So if that's what you're referring to, individual checks, individual direct checks of $600 to qualifying Americans. To qualified Americans, excuse me. When we go full to the Senate floor, we will get there. We will show you live coverage, and you'll get to hear everything going on the ground in DC through the C-SPAN rebroadcast, simulcast coverage here through HAPS Television, Periscope, Twitter, YouTube. Here with you all today. I have Uncle Jim, you have not lost sound. I'm here. I just was on mute for a little bit right now, but again, the Senate floor coverage is on mute, as I keep saying, because I can't take, according to C-SPAN copyright, it has to be full. Once you get to the full Senate floor, I can take you there once they go full screen. On the second half of the screen below, you're seeing they're showing past footage from today of Senator Pat Toomey, the Republican from Pennsylvania, discussing the COVID-19 relief package, the kinds of discussion that was had, and the different challenges that it took to accomplish, to find an agreement, to reach an agreement on the COVID-19, on this COVID-19 relief legislation. Senator Pat Toomey said that he, wished that there was more PPE funding. He was, looking more towards that. Roger says, thank you. Thanks, Roger. Okay. Yes, so we're not going to go full screen yet. We're not gonna, I'm not gonna unmute it yet. Once they go full screen, then we'll get there. Don't worry. You know, a lot of you are waiting for this vote. I am too. I've personally, you know, been so interested in seeing, you know, when will this vote happen? When will it happen? I expect it to be later tonight here live. By the way, thank you to all of you who even subscribe to my YouTube channel. I noticed that I got a few subscriptions onto my YouTube channel. I really appreciate all of you for subscribing to the channel. It's really nice. So I broadcast typically on HAPS TV, but those broadcasts go directly to YouTube as well. So they go directly from HAPS to YouTube, so I can multicast. But again, I really appreciate those of you who subscribe to my YouTube account. If you want to subscribe to me on HAPS TV as well, you can too. So getting this question kind of a lot. Thanks, Melissa, for asking. Are they voting tonight or tomorrow? Most likely tonight. Most likely tonight, unless, you know, it is, again, we can't guarantee that the vote will be tonight, but considering that the vote is considering that the agreement, excuse me, just happened right now, or just recently, a few moments ago, it's probably expected that there will be a vote, but you never know. You never know. So many things can change. We have to see the process, you know, for itself. We can't make assumptions that it will be, that the vote will happen tonight. You know, it could happen tomorrow. So I cannot guarantee that. Randall asks, do you know if the president is going to be able to sign? Yes. So if it gets through the House and it gets through the Senate, then it goes to the president's desk. And if he signs off, it is through. It is through, and the package is ready to go. So um, I don't know. Again, we have to wait for what happens in the House and the Senate. So yes, Randall. So yes, again, as I said, House first, Senate second, third president's desk. This might be an interesting question to pose to all of you. Maybe, you know, we can have this dialogue here as we wait to go full screen at the Senate floor. You know, what are you going to use the $600, the $600 direct check to Americans? That we're going to be seeing in this package? What are you going to use the check for? You know, I would love to hear your thoughts, and, you know, put it on the screen. I can display it on the screen, and so other people can see, um, so I would love to hear your input. Kendrick says, bro, can you hear what they say? Or are you just reading lips? Again, what you see Senator Pat Toomey there on the second half of your screen. That was earlier today. So I had that live on here full screen. But right now, the present live action is on the first half of your screen, on the top half of your screen. Once a senator is speaking, I will go live to that senator. I'll go and unmute and go live to that senator. So Kendrick, thank you for your question, but I'm not really good at reading lips. That was just Senator Pat Toomey. It was earlier today. Yeah, this YouTube a long time, Cameron. Definitely need to be bigger. I mean, thanks. That's really, really nice. Really nice of you to say that. Okay, Cindy says, I'll be giving mine to my mortgage company as they are letting me skip a couple of months' payments due to my cut in pay. Thank you, Cindy, for the comment. I didn't expect you guys to answer my question, but that's really cool. Let's see here. Kathy says, give my landlord $600 of the $900 I owe, still leaves $250 of the electric bill. I am behind, no Christmas for us. Thanks, Kathy, for the comment. Investment on the market. One YouTube comment says, I'm going to buy me a PlayStation 5 console. Let's go full screen now to the Senate floor, as we are now going to have a senator come speak right now. So we're going to go live to the Senate floor. You are seeing this rebroadcasted through C-SPAN television. A long day of trying to get this through as we are closing down on the days of 2020. Oh, Michelle says actually pay off my phone bill. So thank you for your comment. In regards to my question about what would you do, with the $600 direct checks. Okay, we're going to have okay, let's listen in. We're going to go to the Senate floor now as we have Senator Roy Blunt from Missouri.
Purposes.
Without objection.
I further ask that the committee reported amendment be considered and agreed to, the bill as amended be considered, read a third time and passed, and the motions to reconsider be considered, made, and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate.
Without objection.
Mr. President, as if in legislative session, I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of calendar number 576, Senate 3100, S3100.
The clerk will report.
Calendar number 576 S3100, a bill to convey land in Anchorage, Alaska to the Alaska Native Tribal Health Consortium and for other purposes.
I
Without
ask,
objection, the Senate will proceed.
I ask unanimous consent that the committee reported substitute amendment be agreed to, the bill as amended be considered read a third time and passed, and that the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Without objection.
Mr. President, as if in legislative session, I ask unanimous consent the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of calendar number 606 S4556.
The clerk will report.
Calendar number 606 S4556, a bill to authorize the Secretary of Health and Human Services, acting through the Director of the Andean Health Service, to acquire private land and so forth and for other purposes.
Without objection.
I further ask that the bill be considered read a third time and passed, and the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate.
Without objection.
Mr. President, if in legislative session, I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of calendar number 575 S3099.
The clerk will report.
Calendar number 575 S3099, a bill to provide for the conveyance of certain property to the Southeast Alaska Regional Health Consortium located in Sitka, Alaska, for other purposes.
Without objection, the Senate will proceed.
I ask unanimous consent that the bill be considered read a third time and passed, and that the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Without objection.
As if in legislative session, I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of calendar number 558 S3948.
Clerk will report.
Calendar number 558 S3948, a bill to amend the Alice Spotted Bear and Walter Soboleff Commission on Native Children Act and so forth and for other purposes.
Without objection, the Senate will proceed.
I ask unanimous consent that the bill be considered read a third time.
Is there objection? Without objection.
I know of no further debate on the bill.
Is there further debate? Hearing none, the question is on passage. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The bill is passed.
I ask unanimous consent that the motion to reconsider be considered and made and laid upon the table.
Without objection.
Mr. President, as if in legislative session, I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of calendar number 586 S2346.
The clerk will report.
Calendar number 586 S2346, a bill to improve the Fishery Resource Disaster Relief Program of the National Marine Fisheries Service and for other purposes.
Without objection, the Senate will proceed.
I ask unanimous consent that the committee reported substitute be withdrawn, the Wicker substitute at the desk be agreed to, and the bill as amended be considered read a third time.
Is there objection? Without objection.
I know of no further debate on the bill as amended.
Is there further debate? Hearing none. The question is on passage of the bill as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it.
I ask
The ayes do have
unanimous.
it. The bill as amended is passed.
I ask unanimous consent that the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Without objection.
As if in legislative session, I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of H.R. 6535, which was received from the House.
The clerk will report.
H.R. 6535, an act to deem an urban Indian organization and employees thereof to be a part of the public health service and so forth and for other purposes.
Without objection, the Senate will proceed.
I ask unanimous consent that the bill be considered read a third time.
Without objection.
I know of no further debate on the bill.
Is there further debate? Hearing none. The question is on passage. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The bill is passed.
I ask unanimous consent that the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Without objection.
As if in legislative session, I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of H.R. 1240, which was received from the House.
The clerk will report.
H.R. 1240, an act to preserve United States fishing heritage through a national program dedicated to training and assisting the next generation of commercial fishermen.
Without objection, the Senate will proceed.
I ask unanimous consent that the bill be considered read a third time and passed, and that the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Without objection.
As if in legislative session, I ask unanimous consent that the Committee on Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs be discharged from further consideration of S 3952 and the Senate proceed to its immediate consideration.
Clerk will report.
S 3952, a bill to require the imposition of sanctions with respect to foreign persons that have engaged in significant theft of trade secrets of United States persons and for other purposes.
Without objection, the Senate will proceed.
I ask unanimous consent that the Van Hollen substitute amendment, which is at the desk, be considered and agreed to, and that the bill as amended be considered read a third time.
Without objection.
I know of no further debate on the bill as amended.
Is there further debate? Hearing none. The question is on passage of the bill as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The bill as amended is passed.
I ask unanimous consent that the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Without objection.
Mr. President, as if in legislative session, I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of S 5076 introduced earlier today.
Clerk will report.
S 5076, a bill to authorize the Sergeant at Arms and Doorkeeper of the Senate to delegate authority to approve payroll and personnel actions.
Without objection, the Senate will proceed.
I ask unanimous consent that the bill be considered read a third time and passed, and that the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Without objection. Disclosure time has expired. The question is on the nomination. Is there a sufficient second? There appears to be. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Alexander, Ms. Baldwin, Mr. Barrasso, Mr. Bennett, Mrs. Blackburn, Mr. Blumenthal, Mr. Blunt, Mr. Booker, Mr. Bozeman, Mr. Braun, Mr. Brown, Mr. Burr, Mrs. Capito, Mr. Carden, Mr. Carper, Mr. Casey, Mr. Cassidy, Ms. Collins, Mr. Coons, Mr. Cornyn, Ms. Cortez Masto, Mr. Cotton, Mr. Kramer, Mr. Crapo, Mr. Cruz, Mr. Daines, Ms. Duckworth, Mr. Durbin, Mr. Enzi, Ms. Ernst, Mrs. Feinstein, Mrs. Fisher, Mr. Gardner, Mrs. Gillibrand, Mr. Graham, Ms. Harris, Ms. Hassan, Mr. Hawley, Mr. Heinrich, Ms. Hirono, Mr. Hoven, Mrs. Hyde Smith, Mr. Inhofe, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kane, Mr. Kelly, Mr. Kennedy, Mr. King, Ms. Klobuchar, Mr. Langford, Mr. Leahy, Mr. Lee.
So thanks for the question, Kathy. When do they talk about the relief bill? So the relief bill was discussed a little bit earlier today from all kinds of senators on both sides, on both Republican side and Democrat side. But the actual vote will take place tonight. We're just awaiting. I do not know the exact time for the vote, but it will most likely take place tonight. It could possibly take place tomorrow. So, but again, as you see the headline and the title of the broadcast, there was an agreement reached on the COVID-19 relief package. Both Senator Mitch McConnell and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer both confirm that there is an agreement reached for the COVID-19 relief package. I'm just going to let this roll here and just, there's always other Senate business. Maybe someone, I'm just going to let the broadcast roll here and let you hear what it's like on the Senate floor whenever there are, executive and judicial nomination votes. So I'm just going to let it roll here for a little bit.
Mr. Van Hollen, Mr. Warner, Ms. Warren, Mr. Whitehouse, Mr. Wicker, Mr. Wyden, Mr. Young, senators voting in the affirmative: Baldwin, Barrasso, Blunt, Braun, Brown, Cardin, Cassidy, Cornyn, Cotton, Crapo, Duckworth, Graham, Grassley, Hassan, Hoven, Hyde-Smith, Johnson, Kelly, McConnell, Murray, Rosen, Rounds, Rubio, Schatz, Scott of Florida, Shaheen, Sinema, Tester, Thune, Tillis, Udall, Wicker. Senators voting in the negative: Hawley, Paul. Mr. Manchin, aye. Mr. Inhofe, aye. Mr. Wyden, aye. Mr. Kane, aye. Mr. King, aye. Mrs. Gillibrand. Mrs. Gillibrand, aye. Ms. Klobuchar, aye. Mr. Merkley, aye. Mr. Kramer, aye. Ms. Hirono, aye. Ms. Smith, aye. Mr. Jones, aye. Mr. Casey, aye. Mr. Menendez, aye. Ms. Ernst, aye. Mr. Reed, aye. Ms. Warren, no. Mr. Daines, aye. Mr. Peters, aye. Mr. Kennedy, aye. Ms. Cantwell, aye. Mr. Moran. Mr. Moran. Aye. Mr. Van Hollen. Mr. Van Hollen. Aye. Mr. Coons. Mr. Coons. Aye. Mr. Gardner. Mr. Gardner. Aye. Mrs. Capito. Mrs. Capito. Aye. Mr. Bennett. Mr. Bennett. Aye. Mr. Leahy. Mr. Leahy. Aye. Ms. Collins. Ms. Collins. Aye. Mr. Murphy. Mr. Murphy. Aye. Mr. Lee. Mr. Lee. No. Mr. Rish. Mr. Rish. Aye. Mr. Markey. Mr. Markey. No. Mr. Blumenthal. Mr. Blumenthal. No. Mr. Booker. Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Shelby. Mr. Shelby. Aye. Mr. Schumer. Mr. Schumer. Aye. Mr. Roberts. Mr. Roberts. Aye. Mr. Durbin. Mr. Durbin. Aye.
Welcome to a special presentation of a United States session on a Sunday, the third ever Sunday session this entire year. The third ever Sunday session this entire year. Excuse me, sorry, I've had some mic issues. But basically, right now, what you're seeing is a judicial nomination vote, but we're going to see the vote for the COVID-19 relief package soon. Hopefully soon. Maybe we will see it tonight. And if it happens tonight, I want to be able to share it all with you, because this is a historic moment in the year 2020. Twists and turns all around in this year, yet we're awaiting this vote. 3 to 4 second delay on the video. Thanks for pointing that out. Yes, that's probably true because this is a multicast. I'm multicasting through HAPS TV, through Periscope, through Twitter, through YouTube. So there may be a little bit of a delay on your end. Also, I've had some issues with my microphone here, so I've had to reset the broadcast at times. So there may be a little delay. So hopefully it's not too bad on your end, and you get to see this broadcast. I do not know when the vote will be. The Senate vote will be for the COVID-19 relief package. So we're gonna have to see. We're gonna have to wait and see. But other business is taking place here on the Senate floor as you see this judicial nomination vote. I just decided to, why not just broadcast live the whole way? Why not broadcast live the whole way and see what happens here? I've never done a broadcast quite like this where I rebroadcast from somewhere else. And by the way, I'm allowed to do this. I'm allowed to rebroadcast from C-SPAN when it comes to the Senate floor and the House floor like this. And I've never done anything quite like this for this long of a broadcast, but I want to give this a test to see, whether or not, people are looking for this kind of content. And as far as I can tell, people are really interested in what's happening here, what's happened today on the Senate floor regarding the COVID-19 relief package. We are just moments away from everything being finalized and eventually a vote. So a verbal agreement, but we've got to go through the formal channels for this package to pass. We have to go through the formal process of this package being passed. So I'm just going to stick it, I'm just going to unmute again. I know some of you, I bet all of you are here for the COVID-19 relief package. You're not here for the judicial nomination vote. But again, that's a part of the Senate business. That's a part of this. That's the reality of the Senate business is they're always working and working and working on something. So when they're awaiting the final legislative text to eventually vote on it, then they'll talk about it again, and then they'll eventually vote. But in the meantime, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get these executive and judicial nomination votes sprinkled in between the COVID-19 relief package talk. So let's go back out live out to the Senate floor and listen in just for you to take it all in. Okay, I just found the information. Okay, I can properly say this now. This is a report. This is from CNN Politics. Manu Raju and Claire Foran report that the House will vote on Monday on the final COVID relief package, along with the $1.4 trillion ominous spending bill that is, according to House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer. He told this message to Democrats on a caucus call, the sources said. So the final vote will be tomorrow, on Monday. That is the official news. So we just saw the agreement. I'm going to end the broadcast. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to this special presentation of COVID relief negotiations taking place on a rare Sunday session. COVID-19 relief package vote tomorrow. So maybe I'll jump back on live tomorrow. Maybe not. I have work. But thank you. Thank you all for tuning in to this broadcast. Really appreciate those of you who subscribe to my YouTube channel or to HAPS TV. I just want to say again, sorry for the technical difficulties that took place. But again, thank you so much. And have a great, great night, everyone.